and I'm the runt of my family. So my husband's like, if our kids are smaller like you, and luckily my daughter's 6'1", my other daughter's 5'11".
Okay, so is it only Carlos online?
Come on in,
Okay, so
Carlos.
we're gonna get started. Okay, so we come back to this every time, and it's what successful agents do. And when we come to the second one, the two things we're featuring are lead generating for buyers and sellers, which we talked about on Tuesday. And then the second thing is setting goals, which is what we're doing today. Today, we're really going to try and get clear on the numbers of what we need to do. And so you have a book and you have one extra page?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Carlos, you don't have that, but don't get in an accident as we go through this, please. Okay.
No, it's okay. I'm already in the slowest lane. I'm ready to.
Okay. So now in goal setting, what we want to do is we want to envision our big life. That's the key to this, because when we set goals, we can either look at a small life and set small goals, or we can look at a much bigger life. And then what we're going to do is envision our big life. We're going to go through understanding our goals, and then we're going to recap. There's not a lot in this. And at the end, since this one should be a much shorter class, if we have a little time, one of the things I want to go over with you is go back and do a little bit more on our sphere of influence, because I didn't get a chance to go into that as much as I would like to. So I want to do that. The other thing we're going to look at is also what are the right activities, and then building successful habits, because that's the key. Okay. Okay, so it says, who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. So Kirsten, since you're the only one here, what do you think that means?
Who we are. So who you are as a person and what your goals are and how you're going to figure out your goals and what you specifically need to do to accomplish that. So whether that's you want to work on your farm, how are you going to work on your farm? Mail the postcard, call them, door knock, and have specific things to accomplish each specific goal, and make yourself into that person.
Okay, so I think
No?
a little bit. So to paraphrase a little bit, so who we are and what we do. So who we are as people are going to determine that. So are we tend to be a little bit more lazy? Are we very ambitious on our own? And our upbringing and everything else will determine what we're going to do and accomplish. Okay, so that's sort of we're somewhat of a victim, or where it's already predetermined what we're going to accomplish.
Gotcha.
Now, the opposite is what we do and what we accomplish can determine who we are. And that's why we set goals. Because we're going to set the goals, set the activities we need to do, and from that, we can accomplish what we want. So we don't have to be a victim. So even though we may not, none of us were born real estate people, and no one was born a born salesperson. Okay, a lot of this is learned skills. And my background in a lot of things I did, yes, I always like talking to people, and I've done sales, but just always being in front when I was younger was not my main thing. Now I have no problem getting in front of a group and say, hey, Mark, come up here and talk. But I've done it so much, that's now who I become because I've done it. That's not the way I started off. So anything we're doing is all learned. Some of us learn it faster and easier than others, but by having the goals in place and knowing the activities that go with it, we can make us move a lot faster. Okay, so when we look at this, it's talking about two things. We're talking about time and effort and thinking, okay? And then we take actions, and then we have small outcomes, okay? So, Carlos, can you see that or not really?
Yeah, I can see it. It's a graph, and it has the
right. So what do you think that's showing? Why is it showing that we have small outcomes? Do you have any idea?
Well, actually not sure. Maybe.
Did you have any idea? Okay, so what it's showing is if we do not think big enough, then we end up with small outcomes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if our goal is, hey, I just want to be in real estate because I want to get a new sofa and I'm gonna work hard enough to do that, I'm not going to set very big goals. I'm not going to take very big actions. However, if we learn to really think big, bigger than we thought was possible, and we can envision it, then we can go to a higher level. Okay, and that's the whole idea. And that's what's so great about Keller Williams, what's so great about MREA and everything, is you're exposed to people that are doing so much more than you ever could think of or imagine. And so because of that, we're going to a much higher level, because you're now, once you see that it's possible and someone else has done it, now you can accomplish it. And it's like they said, nobody could break, what was it, the 6-minute mile? And then all of a sudden, as soon as the first one did it, I think 3 people did it right afterwards, because now we knew it was possible. And so by thinking big is what we want to do. So now there's an activity we're supposed to do. I think it's on page, is it 3?
Envision your big life.
Yes. Okay. So what this is talking about is, so you have a circle and you have different things that we want to accomplish. And it says, if we were to look at a bigger life, what would be some things you would want to do for other people, and what would that cost? So for example, when I was first starting, one of the big things was just for the family to make enough money to pay the house payments and things like that. So that was one thing I had to do and accomplish. Okay. So like in here, it gives an example. I want to eventually help my parents pay off their mortgage, and they have $18,000. So obviously they don't live in California, because their car payment loan could be that much, but not their house. And I want to help them get out of that. So we can look at that way. One of the things I had is my kids were going to private school. So part of it was I had to make enough money so I could pay for the kids to go to school. I didn't want to come to them and say, oh, Daddy didn't work hard enough, and so therefore you can't go to the school with all your friends. We're pulling you out now. So that was important. One of the things for me long-term was, let me move this out of here. So one of the things I had also set up was for my kids when they got start for college. If they did really well, that they could go to the college of their choice and not have any debt. That was very important to me. My parents paid for my education. It was very important in our family that if the kids worked hard and could go to college, that you paid for it and they didn't end up with a lot of debt. So that was important to me, to make sure I put money away for that. Also wanted to be that my kids wanted to get married, I could pay for that and not say, oh, we have to have a small wedding. We could have a really nice wedding. That was important. So what are the things that you want to do? Now, I've always given a fair amount of money to our temple that I've been involved in, and that's important, having a certain amount of money to give to charity. So when we look at this, in each box, what are some of the things you're going to do for other people besides yourself? Because what we do know is if you're out lead generating and it gets tough, you'll give up on yourself. You won't give up on your family and other people.
Right, right.
So let's take a few minutes and think of some of the things that we could do, and that's what we're going to write in the boxes, and how much money do you need? Carlos, can you think of one thing that if you were to successful in real estate, one thing you would want to put money aside to do to accomplish?
Yeah, I want to buy my first home.
Okay, perfect. And so when we do that, how much money do you think you need to put aside so that you can do that?
Well, with an FHA for the home that I want, I was looking, it's about 30,000.
Okay, great. So first of all, that's great. The fact that you know specifically what it was and that you've already gone to the point and know you could do it for 30,000, now you have something that you can obtain and you can do, correct?
Correct.
Until then, if it's just that we're thinking about, well, I'd like to get a house, I know it's going to cost me money, it's expensive, and because it's so vague, we never accomplish it.
Yeah.
And this is what's really important, because you have a specific number, now you can do something about it. Now, realistic or not realistic, that was a bad word for goal setting. So how long do you think that will take you to save 30,000?
6 months.
Okay, perfect. So it's something that you could do in 1 year. And now if you had said, well, I think it's going to take me 2 years, then I would challenge you, hey, if for us at our price points, how many deals would you have to do that? And if you could do one more deal a quarter, all of a sudden you've accomplished that easily and could do it. And so that's the key. When we break it down and it's clear, we can do something about it. What would be one thing you would pick?
Finish paying for my kids' college.
Okay, and so how much do you think that is?
200.
Okay, and so for you, how much do you think you could put aside each year, or how much could you chip away each year and through real estate?
I want to say 40,000.
Perfect. So if you could put 40,000 away each year, all of a sudden it would take you 5 years. However, once you clarify this and you know what you need to do, that may be your first year. And once you build up the skills, all of a sudden the second year you could pay 50, and probably by the third year you could probably pay 60 or 75,000, because you'd be able to grow on that and increase your business and put more money there. So the reality is, if you stay focused and you see how important this is to you, you could probably do this in 3-4 years at the most. And then once you saw yourself making progress and you could see this, you could probably say, wow, I'm actually going to work a little bit harder and not quit, and I'm actually do it in 3 years.
And that third kid's going to get a full ride, and I'm knocking that amount down.
Perfect. So it's actually interesting. On a side note, I have my 2 oldest kids are, well, actually on Monday, my oldest one will be 31, and my daughter that works for me is 29. And then my youngest one's turning 21 because they're born on the same day, 10 years apart. So for the first 2, my parents didn't do anything. I had to pay for everything. And so what I had done was I took out whatever the government gave you that were free loans, and you didn't have to pay anything until the kids graduated. There was no interest occurring. So I took those, and everything else I paid. I figured, hey, if I can get a free loan for the time, so I did that, and whatever scholarships they got and so forth. Then my parents decided, because my sister needed help, that they would give each of us $30,000 a year for college and stuff. Well, now my kids have basically graduated, so I said, perfect. Can I take my $30,000 to pay off these loans? So I did that.
Yeah.
And now my youngest one, who's starting her second year of college, they're now paying for that. So now I don't even have to worry about that right now, because they're paying for that. So that ended up working out really nice. But if my parents didn't have goals and set money aside and just spent all the money, they couldn't have done that for us. And I think that's very important. And that's why we do goal setting, so we know what we're trying to accomplish. Now, I want to go back, because on the page before, I was supposed to read you a quote, which I did. So I'm going to read it now, which I think is better. Okay, does anyone know what the mission of Keller Williams is? Do you guys know, Carlos?
Actually, no, I don't.
Okay, so our mission is to have careers worth having. So what do you think that means? Have a career worth having. Carlos?
I think it means something where your work actually produces the outcome that you desire.
Okay, very good. So that if we're going to do this, we want to have a wonderful big career that we can accomplish a lot. Okay. And then the second one is businesses worth owning. So what do you think that means?
To make it worth your time and your effort you put into it.
So if our business is only paying us $10,000, that's not worth a lot of time and effort, right?
Right.
Now, if all of a sudden we knew through real estate our business could generate 100,000 every year, if we knew it could generate 200,000, 300,000, that would be pretty exciting, correct? So if we're going to do this, we want to learn the skills, create the systems, follow the models that are going to do all of this. And we're not going to just go haphazardly about doing real estate. We're going to have a real plan and a goal of what we're trying to accomplish and a roadmap to follow. Okay, so the third thing is lives worth living. So Carlos, what do you think that means?
Life that you get excited about waking up every morning to do.
Okay, so what would be some things that you would want to do outside of real estate?
Well, I like doing like challenges, like the Spartan race and all those type of things.
Oh, I've done that, Carlos.
Okay, so Carlos, if you could do that anywhere in the world, where would you like to do that?
There's one in Spain that I want to do.
Okay, so if you had a career and a business that could produce the money you want and you could now do that, would that be a life worth living?
Absolutely.
Okay, and where's a place you would love to go away to and go visit besides now Spain?
Well, I want to take my fiance to Bali.
Okay, and how long would you like to go for?
An entire week.
Okay, and what type of hotel would you like to stay in?
They have some that are right next to the water. I'd like those.
Okay, so what happens if we went for 2 weeks and we stayed in the Four Seasons and we had the honeymoon suite overlooking the ocean with a balcony and a private jacuzzi in our place? How would that sound?
It gets me all excited.
Okay, but is that a life living? And now, I assume that you're getting married and you guys would like to have some kids?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I know for me, one of the things I've done is every year we take our kids away to Hawaii and we have these great family vacations. And so when I call my kids up and say, hey, we're doing a family vacation, Dad, let's go here. Here's where we want to go. And they can't wait to go on vacation with us. How many kids want to go on vacation with their parents? Okay. But when you create these great opportunities and you show them, now, I remember I went to a Mike Ferry event and they had this guy speak. I cannot remember his name, but he was the #2 person at Disney and he created Disney University. And what he did is he said, we had to teach people to be kids again, because as you get older, you forget your creativity, you forget to have fun. And he says, us Americans don't travel enough and don't go to other places, see different cultures and different things and so we're very sheltered and narrow-minded. He goes, you need to go to different places and you need to find out what is the most different and unique thing that they offer and do that. And so when I tried to travel, we tried to do different things. So in Hawaii, we went hang gliding off of the volcano. When we went to Rhode Island, we went sailing, because that's what you do there. So we try to do different things that are different. Is that having a life worth living? Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay. The next thing that we have is experience worth giving. So what does that mean? Worth giving. Carlos, what do you think?
Did you say experience worth?
Experiences worth Giving.
Oh, getting?
Giving, sorry.
Giving. Oh, well, like your travel with your kids? Is that?
Again, so that we're sure, I mean, it would be nothing worse to have all this money and just doing it by myself.
Right.
Okay. Yes, I really want to go out for a really nice dinner and have a nice bottle of wine by myself. That would not be very good. But giving people different experiences, I think that's important. And that's what I enjoy and why my kids love doing vacations with us, because we're having experiences we're creating. It wasn't that I gave them $5,000 for something, but we took this really fantastic trip and we got to do it. And when the kids were younger, my parents had a place in Hawaii and we'd all go. And so being there with the grandparents and then us was really important. And the condo they had was a nice condo overlooking the ocean, but it wasn't overly fixed up because they rented it out. No one cared that it wasn't the nicest place, but it was such a great location and such a great place. And we had such great memories and experiences that when my father passed away 8 years ago, and my mom says, I'm not going back. So we sold the place. They were devastated because this was their second home.
Right.
But it was the experiences they had. Those are things that are invaluable, and that's what we want to do. And the last thing is legacies. Legacies, this is a brand new one. Legacies worth leaving. And on that one, that we're leaving something behind. So the fact that my daughter can work with me and see what I'm doing, I'm training her so my business can continue. That I'm teaching my kids a certain work ethic and they can see that, and the importance of accomplishing and doing, not that I'm just going to hand them the money, but they know how to go work. That's a great legacy. The fact that I teach in a market center so that you guys can learn and influence people and people can be successful. So it's not just about us, it's about giving back also. And maybe I want to get involved in a charity event that I want to give and help. So all those things is why we create these careers. And so as we're about to go through this, I want you to start thinking much bigger about what is possible. So I'm going to share something with you, and an exercise they had us do, and I did this for my coach, and I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it. So I'm going to do it from memory. Okay. And it talks about having a someday goal, a 5-year goal, a 1-year goal, a month goal, etc. And so what we're going to do. So I'm going to do this from memory. So my someday goal is my wife and I are sitting on the beach in our house in Hawaii. Every week or every quarter, a different family comes over to spend with us, and we get to watch our grandkids and our kids enjoying our house in Hawaii. And we get to sit back and do different activities and experience this each and every year with our family. So that is my someday goal. My 5-day goal, or my 5-year goal, is that we're selling 100 homes each year. However, I'm no longer involved in the deals. I'm just coaching my team, training the people on my team, growing them so that the Mark Moskowitz team continue to grow and prosper without me having to work on that. This is how I can live in Hawaii 6 months a year and not have to be here. And I can coach and train people from Hawaii. No one knows that I'm here. My 1-year goal is I have to hire that executive assistant, that person who's going to start to take over the business, because before I can do that, I can't have someone take over the business. Okay? And so by going way out, I can now start to come back and set the stage. When my coach first had me do something like this, then it became clear who I needed on my team and what we needed to accomplish. Okay, and so as you guys go through this, and especially the first year is a lot harder, but as you're in the business a year or two and you start to see how everything comes together and you start to look bigger, this will become more important. I share it with you because when we're starting off, let's start off with big plans, big goals, set it up right, because it's all possible. Any questions on that? Okay, so after we go through all of these, we're going to come up with some number we have to do. Now they came up with $364,000. Now I don't know if you were a brand new agent, how you're going to do that in your first year. So I don't know if this is a big life. So I need this in 5 years or 3 years. That's probably how that works. Okay, I would think that's a pretty high number, especially when we look at the numbers they have. But can you understand about thinking bigger than we did? Okay. Okay, now understanding your goals. Okay, so the question is, where does it all go? Okay, so the problem is, for most real estate agents, we sell a house and we get a check for $15,000. That's our commission. Okay, or it's $20,000 and we go ahead and we spend it because, oh my gosh, this is great. I just got 20,000. So Carlos, what is one problem with that?
Taxes, and also you're not investing.
One. So taxes. Okay, we'll come back to you because there's only 2 of you. So, okay, what's the next one?
Well, your cap percentage.
Okay, so part of it has to go to the market center. You didn't get all of it. Okay, Carlos, we're back to you.
Invest it back to the business.
Okay, so we're going to have some business expenses because it's not free to do real estate. And so there's other things that the money goes to, so we can't spend the whole thing. And when we do, you don't have any money left at the end of the year for taxes. And unless you like the color orange, I suggest you pay Uncle Sam because he gets his money no matter what. Okay, so that is really important. So now let's look at this. Where does it go? Okay, so here we go. Okay, so obviously this is Texas, and it says our average sales price is $300,000. So I can get you a mobile home, or maybe a 1-bedroom condo, or a 2-bedroom condo with no running water. Okay, so in here for our example, we are going to use $750,000. So you want to write that down? Average sales price, $750,000. For commission, I'm going to use for this example $17,000. And $17,000 ends up being 2.23%. Okay, so now let's back up for a second. If I am a listing agent and I list a house for 5%, okay, because that is really the going rate. You're going to be very hard pressed to get over 6 or to get 6, which they use in these examples, but they're in Texas and their prices are very cheap. And in some cases, it'll be less. So do I get that whole 5%?
Well, not unless you have both ends.
Okay, so there's one half of that goes to the listing side and half of that goes to the buyer side. So for me to get the whole thing, I have to have 2 sales. Because if I do both sides, I have a listing side and a buyer side, and that's 2 sides. But I'm only looking at the number of transactions, it's based on one side. So I don't get that whole 5%. Carlos, that makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so we only have 2.5. Now you are starting to see some deals out there that are only paying 2.25%, 2%. I've even saw one for only 1%. Okay. So as these discount agents are taking this stuff, they're giving less and less. They're getting away with it right now because there's not enough inventory. And if your buyer sees the house, you can't say, well, I'm only getting paid 1.5 or 2%. I can't show that to you. So we don't always have choices. On the listing side, yes, we do have 5%. Sometimes it ends up being a little bit lower. One of the things I do is if I double end a house, I do it for 4%. Okay. So I took a listing last night in Simi Valley. It was $640. I already knew he was going with me. And he said, are you willing, if you double end it, will you lower the commission? What do you think I said?
Absolutely.
I said, no.
Really?
I did because I knew I could get the whole 5%. So I didn't want to, and it was only $640 and my average price is over $850. So I didn't give it away. And I knew I wasn't competing. Now, if we get, and there's a very good chance I'm going to get him way over the asking price. And so if I get him way over the asking price, why shouldn't I get paid more? Now, if we get to a deal and I can't make it work and it's lower and I can double end it, I may give it back later. But in this case, I didn't have to do it up front. Okay? So I knew where I was. And if he said, absolutely, then I'm not going to sign, then I would have given it to him. But I knew he was going to sign. I had done too good of a job through the presentation and showing him what to do that I knew he was like, yes, yes, yes. And I did one other thing for him, and this is the other reason I wasn't going to do it. We are going to paint the house and help him finish it because he's been doing it all himself and it's taken forever. So I'm going to get my painters meeting him today, and he's going to pay for half. I'm going to pay for half and get reimbursed through escrow because he just doesn't have the money. And I'll get paid that way. And since I'm financing it for free for him, I might as well get the whole commission. And that's how he said, wow, you're really helping me out so I get more money. And if he gets it done properly, then I will get him probably 20,000 over what I told him.
Right.
So I felt that was a good trick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's all important information.
But that's why I'm sharing this with you, because I don't want you to think when we're doing this. Okay, so now we have our average commission, I said, was 17,000. Okay. Now, in our market center, we have this form, and it says our GCI percentage. Don't fill that out yet. Actually, you can put that in at 15.8%. Okay. Our cap is at 24,000, so not 27. Okay. Our franchise royalty is 3,000, so our total is 27,000. Okay. Now, shoot. Because Carlos is in our way now. Look at that. Okay, so you had the blank form that in front of you there, not in the workbook. You had the extra one, right?
So it's 27.3, so total's 30.
No, it's 24 and 3. 24, 3, 27.
Got it.
Okay, now you have that extra page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on your extra page, write this. This is the example I'm going to use. This may not be your numbers. So I'm going to give you my example, and then you can go back and figure out in your workbook what your real numbers are. Okay, so where we come up with our income goal, we have 100,000. We know our company dollar and royalty cap combined are 27,000. I'm going to put our business expenses at 43,000. So if we add up the three together, 100, 27, and 43, we get 100, and for on D, we get 170,000. And what did I say we were using for commission? No. I gave you an actual dollar amount.
17,000.
17,000. So Carlos, even though you're driving, if you have 170,000 in gross closed commission and you get paid 17,000 a deal, how many deals do you need to do?
10.
Okay, that's why I picked 17, even though it might be a little bit higher. So it worked out so nicely for everyone, and we didn't have to come up with 9 point something. Okay. Now, if you do a little bit better job and it's really 18,000, fantastic. You just got an extra $1,000 on each deal. And you can go use that for yourself. Okay, so in this example, if you want to make 100,000, you want to pay the company and have your business expenses, you got to do gross closed commission of 170. The problem is most people don't realize it or look at that and they go, oh, I want to make 100,000. I get 17,000, so I can do 6 deals. And then by the time they pay everything, they have nothing left. Now, in this example, I made $100,000. Do I get to keep 100,000? Carlos, what do you think?
I'm guessing no.
You're right. So what is the one thing we have to still pay? Taxes, yes. So this is it. So this is as if you had a real job and your salary was 100,000, then you pay your taxes. Okay, so I want you to realize, so it's not that you got 100,000 to just go play with, you still have to take taxes out of that. Okay, does that make sense? Carlos?
Yes.
So if you can generate 170,000 in gross closed commission, are you really rich?
No.
No, that's, okay, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Not here in California.
That's the problem. So it is a nice income and we're on our way, but unfortunately, we don't get this big life because 100,000 doesn't go that far. And when we take the taxes out and all the stuff, the taxes we got to pay for gas and everything else that we pay here in sales tax, it doesn't go very far. And then if you have a house, then that's at least 4,000 or 5,000 between the house and the taxes on that. And so it doesn't go a big way, but most people don't look to do that much because they set their goals too low and they didn't figure out what it takes. And I told you when I taught lead generation, you're not going to fail because you didn't know what to do. You may decide not to do it, and you're not going to not meet your goals because you didn't know how to calculate it. So for the two of you, you now know that you got to do a few more deals than you really thought if you want to have this great life. Correct? Please go ahead.
The 43,000 for business expenses.
Yes.
That seems like a lot. What is that? What are you putting inside that? Everything like gasoline, car payment?
It could be your car payment, your gas,
Okay.
MLS dues, and we're supposed to put away 7 or 8% for marketing and advertising. So if we did 170,000, we could have $15,000 to $17,000 for that.
Gotcha. Okay.
We could be paying for training, like I pay $1,000 a month for coaching. That goes in there. I have an office that I pay for. That goes in there. I'm paying for a transaction coordinator because I don't want to do all the paperwork, or an assistant. So all those things start to add up because as we get to these numbers, we can't, look, the first year you could do it all yourself and save every penny. However, you're not going to be able to grow to the next level, and we're going to start to have to add people in there. Okay. So they had more money. I cut it down. They had 53,000. I just thought that was really expensive. Okay. And you may in your first year have that closer to 25 or 30. And so let's say instead of my 43, you only spent 30. What happens? How much do you make then if you achieved these, if you did 10 deals? How much would your net income be?
113.
113, because the 13,000, if you didn't spend on expenses and you did the same results, it goes into your pocket. The bad part is if you figure 30 and then you spend 43, now all of a sudden you're at 87,000 and now you're short and then you can't make it up. So I'd rather you plan a little bit higher for expenses, not spend it and have it keep in your pocket. And now all of a sudden you made 110,000. So Carlos, what is an aha you got from just doing this little exercise?
Well, running the numbers right now, realizing that I have to make over 170 to make 100.
Especially if you want to still go to Bali and you don't want to go to Catalina.
Yeah, true.
Exactly. Okay. And so based on this, what do you think, how many homes are you going to need to have to sell to make this happen?
Sounded like 10, right? To get 170.
Well, no, 10 to do 170, but you just said you have to do more. So how much more do you think you need to do?
Well, the goal was to do 2 every month, so that would be 24.
Okay. And if you were doing, now as you're getting closer to, and you're starting to do that, now you do need to have help and have an assistant and other people. You can't do it all yourself. And so you're going to have some expenses. And so it's as a percentage, okay? So your expenses will be higher because you're not going to be able to run it on 43. Maybe you're at 63 or 70 if you do an extra 100,000. Because if you're doing 24 deals, or okay, let's do it differently. Let's do only 20 deals. So instead of doing 170, all of a sudden you're at 340.
Okay.
Okay, so all of a sudden your expenses aren't going to stay. Now your cap stays the same, so that percentage goes way down. But your expenses are going to be a lot higher. I mean, maybe your expenses are 100,000, so you have 240 left over. Okay.
Okay.
So, but that's what you got to go back and figure in doing this. Okay. Any questions on this? What is one of your ahas?
I think the big envisioning and then breaking it down by years, like what's your overall, your 1 year, your 5 year, and then taking that and figuring it out. Like I said, the kids' school. So
Okay, but just looking at this one little piece though, when we're looking at, it's 170,000 to take home 100. What did you realize from doing this little exercise?
Well, I was with Carlos, I was with the two.
Okay.
And I think we did this in the business planning thing. So
right.
I have this.
Okay, perfect. And the form that Terry sent to everyone, that is a lot better in doing it and figuring out what you need to do. But going back in a little more detail is good also. Okay. Okay, understanding our goals, do the right things. Okay. So we have what we call the 80-20 principle. Does anyone know what that is?
Yes.
Go ahead, Carlos.
So what is it? 20%.
Carlos, you should be here. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I wish I was there. Just I got to pay my bills too.
Okay.
So 20% of your actions account for 80% of your results.
Okay. Now, what is the opposite of that?
80% of your actions account for 20% of the results.
Right. So that we actually, most of the stuff we do don't create any income. And in real estate, that's very true. And so when we look at the big thing in the beginning, we're going to come back to in a little bit. There's certain we can be very busy in real estate. There is so much to do that gets us off track. And that's important. However, they don't make us money. And so once we're in escrow and we're handling the file, yes, we got to get it closed. But if we spend too much money, I mean, I have certain agents, it's incredible, on the other side, and they are calling me over every little thing. And it's like, you drive me nuts. And if you do that, I won't sell you a listing again. It's like you're on my blacklist because you have one deal and you're going crazy. We will get you everything. I'm managing usually 7 or 8 deals at one time in escrow. We got 3 properties we're trying to get on the market. We got 2 or 3 homes that we're marketing. I can't spend all my time on one file. And if you're constantly calling me, you're going to drive me nuts. And I'm going to tell you, either pull your buyer and I'll sell it to someone else or back off. Right. Okay. And so they spent all this time on the things that aren't creating any money. And that's a problem. Okay. And our deals all close. We're very good about that because we manage our time properly and don't waste our time micromanaging things, but we are on top of the big stuff. And if there's a problem, we're going to handle it. Okay. So this is really important. So now let's look at what are the 20% things do you think make us the most money? So we'll start with you.
Phone calling.
Okay. So what do we call that?
Lead generation. Lead
generation is the number one thing we can do. Carlos, what do you think the second thing would be?
Following up.
That's all part of lead generation, but yes. Okay. Pick another one.
Let's see. Is prospecting also part of lead gen? Yeah.
I sure hope so. If you're paying attention to my class, it's always prospecting. Okay. You're really good on this prospecting stuff. Pick something that's not prospecting. Why are we prospecting to get what?
Oh, listings.
We have to go on listing appointments. So
Yeah.
that's a big one. And what is the opposite of a listing? What's the other type of a listing we can take? Not for sellers, a buyer listing. And then in our example, they have previewing property, and we talked on Tuesday why that is so important for our knowledge, our confidence, and our experience. Now, they have on the other side, I do believe personally that showing buyers is part of that, because I don't know how you sell a house or sell a house to a buyer without showing property. Now, the problem is if we don't qualify our buyer and we're just driving them around and showing them houses, then I say you're just an Uber driver that doesn't get paid. At least Uber gets paid to drive you from one house to another, okay? So we want to make sure they're qualified and we're not out showing them property for the sake of showing property. We're out to write offers and get them into escrow, okay? And then the other one that's on the other side, I think is part of it, is also negotiating contracts. It's great to have the listing, but if I don't spend time negotiating the contract, that to me is still part of my 20%. Now, managing the listing, that is still on the other side. It's important, we can't neglect it, but it is, but it takes away. I don't make more money from it. I already I already have the income coming in. I'm just keeping it there. So it's important, but I'm not generating new income. And so we're not growing the business by that. Okay, does that make sense? And so that's what we want to look at. And as we're doing goal setting, we're going to have to look at what activities generate the most money. Okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so you want to go ahead and read that for us?
Hello?
Yeah, please.
What is the one thing you could do right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary?
Okay, so in Gary's book, the one thing, this is the question we always want to be asking ourselves. Whenever we have to decide what we're going to do, what is the one thing that I can do that's going to make everything else eliminated or make it unnecessary, okay, or make it easier? So let's say, for example, Carlos, I'm going to work expireds, okay?
Okay.
What would be the one thing I could do that would make my job calling expireds that much easier?
Let's see. Having like one of those apps that calls expired, like generates the expired list and calls it for you, the machine.
Okay, so having a dialer and having a list of homes would make it easier. But would
Yeah.
that be the most important thing?
I mean, it'd be pretty important because right now I have to go find the expireds and then find the phone
Okay,
number.
so let's say we paid, we had that. Is that now, that's still not the most important thing. What do you think might be more important?
Let's see, your listing presentation.
Okay, before the listing presentation, but you're on the right track. What do
So
you,
before listing.
before the listing? You want a hint yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so having a script, first of all, of what to say. If I don't know what to say, it doesn't matter if I have phone numbers or not,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I have a script. Having read it and memorized and internalized, would that help? I can call all the people in the world, but if I don't know what to say, it doesn't matter. I'm wasting my time, correct?
Correct.
And if I know what to say, but I haven't practiced and I sound like a bumbling idiot, and every time they ask me a question, I'm so nervous, that's a problem, correct?
Correct.
So knowing what to say, learning the script and practicing it is probably going to be one of the most important things I could do if I'm going to call expireds.
Go to the bathroom.
No problem. Correct, Carlos?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So if we don't have time to really work on our skills and stuff, doesn't matter what we're doing, that's going to be a big problem.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to look at what's important. So all of a sudden, this role playing and getting good at it is going to become very important. Now, if you get on the phone and you don't have a script and you don't practice and you don't know what to say and you're a bumbling idiot and everyone keeps hanging up on you, how long are you going to continue that activity?
Not very long. You're going to give up.
You're going to give up pretty quickly, and that's a problem. So having a script and knowing how to say it properly is pretty important to your success.
Okay.
However, I don't want you spending all of your time just practicing, because many people practice so much they never get into action. And so practicing and actually doing it makes a big difference. Correct?
Okay. Yes.
So in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, he tells a story that there was a professor and he broke the class into two groups. One group, he said, I want you to make a perfect pot, okay, out of clay. And he goes, I don't care how many pots you make, but I want you to make the perfect pot, and I'm going to grade you on how close it is to perfection. In the second group, he says, I don't care how good the pot is, I just want you to make the most pots. And I'm going to grade you based on how many pots I think you can do and what you actually do. The question was, who made the better pot?
Well, I would guess at first it was the person who made the best pot, but if you're asking someone to do it a lot of times, their final time's going to be the best one.
Because they did it so much, they got better and better and more comfortable, and they learned. So they didn't make better pots, but each time they made a pot, they learned what didn't work, they tried it, and they got better and better. So the people that tried to make the perfect pot never got good. So real quickly, so we get caught up. So I gave an example. So as we were doing this one, the most important thing, we were talking about if you don't know the scripts and you're just bumbling around and I'm calling expireds after, and people are hanging up on me and yelling at me, how long am I going to keep doing it? Not very long.
Right.
So if we don't learn what to say, but that's not the whole answer. So then in the red book, it talks about this professor broke two groups into two groups, and they were making clay pots. Group one had to make the perfect pot, and they didn't care how many they did as long as it was perfect. In the second group, they had to make as many pots as they could. And the question was, which one made the more perfect pot? And it was the second group, because they made so many, they perfected their skills and got better of it. And the first one that was all about theory, and we do this and we do that, but never actually implemented, didn't get very good. And so we have to practice, but we also have to go out there and do, and that's how we learn. So we learn, we do, we fail, we practice, we learn, we do, we practice, and it's a big circle, but each time we keep getting better and better because we're actually doing it. So just doing role playing with each other isn't good enough. We got to go out and have more life experience, but when we're getting stuck, we come back, we role play. Does that make sense? So as we're looking at this one thing, this becomes very important. Okay. Now we come back to lead generate. So we already did this, seller presentation, buyer presentations, and reviewing real estate. And I said negotiating contracts and showing buyers is also important. I understand why it's running the business, but those would be my top two and so forth. Okay. And then obviously lead generation is the most important thing we're going to do. Okay. Now go to, what page is this one, the 411? Seven?
Uh-huh, 7.
Okay, so now we're going to fill out what we call a 411. And this is 4 weeks 1 month, 1 year. Okay, Carlos, if I don't use the microphone, can you hear me okay?
I can hear. I can still hear you, but yeah, it's better with the microphone. But
Okay,
I can.
and I will do that only for you, Carlos, because you've been participating so well. I will continue to use the microphone. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so this is actually a great tool. Okay, and so in doing this and going back to the last thing where it says our 80-20 rule or 20% rule. So 20% of our activities is going to create 80% of our income, our wealth, and our success. So what do you think it means when I say big rocks? We'll look at our big rocks. Carlos?
Our big what?
Big rocks, R-O-C-K-S.
Oh, I don't know.
You have any idea?
Goals?
Okay, but what would be, when we're dealing with goals, what would be the big rocks?
Our big rocks?
Rocks, yes.
Like stumbling blocks, or what do you mean?
Okay, so if I had a jar, okay, and I have big rocks, I have medium rocks, small rocks, and sand, what order should I put them in my jar?
Sand, little, or big, little sand, because it filters.
Okay, so if we put in the sand, and then I put in the little rocks and the medium, the big rocks aren't gonna fit, right? There's not enough room.
Right.
If I put all my big rocks in first, and then I put the medium rocks, little rocks, they'll fall in the crevices in the sand and we'll fill everything in. So we will get more done. The big rocks are the things that are a little bit harder, but have to get done for our success, okay? So if we're going back to our expired, what do you think would be the big rock? Carlos?
Yeah, I still don't get what rocks is.
Okay, so in this example that I gave you, the big rock is learning the scripts, right? And internalizing and memorizing, right?
Okay.
That's the big thing we got to do. Calling a company and paying them $30 or a month to give you the names of the expireds is a small rock, okay?
Okay.
Not very hard. Once we've done it, it's done. But we can have the numbers, as we said, but if we don't learn the scripts, it doesn't matter because we can call these people. We're probably going to give up and not have any success because we don't know what to say in practice, correct?
Okay, yeah.
The practice is the harder part of it. That's the big rock, okay?
Okay.
That's the thing we have to do so that we can be successful. Now, going back to the previous one, what in our daily schedule, what is the most important thing we need to do?
Script.
Okay, before that, sorry, I set you up. Okay, hold on, let's go back.
Lead generation. Make
Lead
calls.
generation is our most important thing, correct?
Okay, yeah.
I spend all my time working on getting the phone numbers, and I spend all my time on creating the flyer, and all my time working the transaction, and then at the end of the day, I get to my lead generation. How much lead generation am I gonna actually do? Very little, I'm gonna run out of time. So the big rocks are the things we have to do to be successful. These are our 20%. The 80% comes after we do our bigger things. That's how I want you to look at this. And so when we go back to the question, what is the one thing I can do that makes everything easier and unnecessary? The lead generation is the big thing we have to do. Because without that, we don't have anything else to do if we don't have any business.
Right.
Correct?
Okay, got it.
Okay, now this is a little confusing, and that's why we don't do in the one thing, we don't do a checklist. We do a success list, and we make all things we need to do, and we rank them in order of importance. Because are the most important things that we need to do, are they usually easy to do, or they take some time? Take some time. So it's easy to say, oh, that's gonna take me 3 hours. Let me do all the easy stuff first. The problem in real estate is we have every day there's more easy stuff that keeps coming up, and we get all these things off our list, but we don't improve or make any progress. And unless we put that into our priorities, we're not going to move forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Carlos, does that make sense? Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so now we're looking at this 411. So at the very top, we need to put our big goal. So in this case, if it is sell 20 homes, sell 24 homes, okay?
Yeah.
And have gross income of X, and I would probably have in there net X to me, because it's important for you to see all three. So for example, if it was to do 20 deals, gross $330,000, and we said it's about 60%, 30, and let's say, and net 200,000 to me, okay, or 210, whatever that is. Now I can see in one page what I'm trying to accomplish. I know I got to get here, and here's what I'm going to end up with. Does that make sense right there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going to go to our annual goal. Okay. So, what are the big things that we need to do to achieve that? What do you think might be? We have 5 things. What do you think might be one thing we could put there?
And our annual goals, or
And our annual goal.
well, wouldn't that be how many listings you want to get?
Okay.
You know,
So
24
we
listings.
know, perfect. So we know that I need to do 20 deals in this example. How many of those deals do I want to do from sellers?
80%.
Okay.
10, right?
It shouldn't be more than 70%.
Ah.
Okay. I mean, I used to be like that, but then you get a lot of buyers that are coming in, you're just neglecting them.
Right.
So we don't. So now my team, we're actually really at 50, pretty much 50-50. I'm not doing very many of the buyers, but I have other people that are taking those buyers, and now I'm making income off of that, and just let them disappear.
Right.
Okay. So let's say, for example, we were going to do 20, and we were going to do 15 of them from listings. Okay. So I would have a number 1, sell 15 listings. Okay. Now, if I'm going to sell 15 listings, how many listings do I need to take?
20.
Okay, so if you're a good agent and you're pretty skilled and you can price things properly and you can handle objections that you're just not taking it way overpriced just to get the listing, you should be able to do 20. Maybe because you guys are newer and we're trying to get signs out there, maybe it could be as high as 25. Okay, because you weren't strong enough, you didn't know your listing presentation quite well enough yet, and all of a sudden, that was the problem. So let's say it was somewhere between 20 and 25 listings. Okay, and even if I take 20, any listing I start to take right now may not close this year. It's probably going to close in January or February. So that is, however, because I've been in the business for a long time, I had certain ones that came into January I got credit for. You guys don't have that, or if your business is growing, hopefully each year you're bringing more in because you're growing the business. Well, that's part of the reason it's not one, and then you do have some people that just change their mind, and there's always a few that you don't sell. Okay, so what would be a second thing we may want to put there? So actually, I'd like to already do a second one. Let's figure out the buyers. We're going to do 5 buyers. And so because of that, I may have to do 10 buyer presentations, or maybe I can do 12 buyer presentations to find 5 people that can really afford to buy out here. Okay. The third thing I'm going to have in there is that I'm going to lead generate for 3 hours a day So I'm gonna figure I'm gonna work 220 days. So I'm gonna work, so in there on line 3, I may have, I'm gonna work 220 days. I'm going to regenerate 3 hours a day, so 660 hours. And make 20 contacts a day. So I said 20 contacts a day, and I said 220. So therefore, 220 is 4,400 contacts for the year. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm trying to get very specific of what I do. Now, all of these, now the first 3 things I did are all in my top 4 things, okay? So we are talking about listing presentations, we're talking about buyer presentations, and we're talking about lead generation. Are all of those my 20% that's giving me all my income? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really setting it up. So there's a lot of other things we need to do that are important, but I'm really stacking this up on the right activities. Doesn't mean, so I've got to get these things done first. Okay, so now for number 4 and 5, I'm going to put down probably something based on skills or models that we need to do. So for you, Carlos, what skill do you think you need to learn first? Okay. This is a good one. So, okay. So maybe on 4, I'm going to put learn a new script each month. Okay. Or how about learn a lead generating script each month? Okay. Carlos, what may be a second thing you need to learn?
Sorry, you're kind of breaking up. It's hard to hear you.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. What is, okay, so I have learned a new lead generating script each month. So after I learn my script, what might be the second thing I need to learn?
Yeah, I couldn't. You're still breaking up. I'm sorry.
Okay, so is that better?
I think the microphone might have turned off.
Okay, no, but I think it made it off. Yeah, let me switch microphone. Is that better? Carlos?
Let me see that again. Yeah,
Is
there
that
you go.
better?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, it must be the battery died on that one. Okay, so if I have on line 3, we have lead generate. If I have learn lead generate a new lead generating script each month, what after I learn my different scripts for lead generating, what might be the next thing that becomes important?
Actually calling these people.
Okay, but we're just because but that's up above. We already did that in number 2 when we did how many contacts we have. So we already got that accounted for. We're just working on skills.
Okay.
Okay,
Maybe
learning the listing presentation become important.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So that when
Right, so now that we've learned what to say when we're lead generating, we better learn a listing presentation, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's going to be one thing. Should we learn about contracts?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be important that we understand the paperwork. Okay, so I'm putting all these things. So at the end of your first year, would you want to know what to say to people?
Absolutely.
Would you want to know how to do a listing presentation?
Yes.
Would you want to know how to do the contract?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one would be handling objections. So when they say something to you, would you want to know what to say and how to respond?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're talking about that. Now on line 5, I would probably do something along these lines. Okay. I want to start to become the neighborhood expert. Okay.
Okay.
Now, what do we have to become a neighborhood expert? What does that look like?
Learning your tracks, learning.
Okay. So we have to know different
How
price
much-
points in houses, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. We're back to a full group, so I'm going to catch you up real quick.
Children.
No problem. Okay. So on line 4, we did learning scripts each month, a different script. Okay. After we do that, we want to learn the listing presentation. Okay. We also, so for the year, we would want to learn what to say in different areas, correct? We would want to know how to do the listing presentation. We'd want to know how to do contracts. So you want to know the contracts backwards and forwards. Okay. And we would want to know, what was the other thing I said, Carlos, after contracts? Oh, handling objections. So when people give you an objection, you would want to know what to say. Okay. So on line 5, we're going to go, you want to be an area expert. So now we're discussing what does that entail. So that could be starting to really, like we talked about on Tuesday, how to preview property. We want to start understanding prices and what you get for different in that area, what that looks like. Okay. So 1, getting to know the inventory. What else do we need to know to become an area expert?
Different floor plans?
Okay, that could be fine. We could know, knowing the names of the different tracks, the different floor plans, that would be part of it. But also being an area expert, what else do they expect us to know besides the houses?
Selling and buying.
Not that. I'm going broader. Is it important to know where the schools are and how good the schools are? Okay. Is it important to know where the churches and the synagogues are, if that's important to people? Is it important to know where the parks are? There's nothing worth, where's the school? I don't know, it's somewhere over there. Okay, this is all part of what we need to know to become an area expert. Is it important to know what activities do they have in the neighborhood for kids? Are sporting events? Do they have a gymnastics class, a dance class? What are some of the better bars and restaurants? So when people come that are out of the area that they don't know, where can we go? Should you know where the markets are for this neighborhood? Is that important?
Right, yeah.
But they expect us to know that if we're an agent. Okay, now we have this list of what we want to learn for the year. Is that a pretty good list? We have a lot to learn in there.
I'll say I moved into the month with some of those.
Okay, wait. So now in January, can we become the expert in all of those things in January? No. If we try to learn that all in January, we are going to go crazy and have a nervous breakdown by February, correct?
Right.
So now we're going to look at that and say, okay, of that list, what do I have to do first in each of those? So number 1, we talked about how many homes we want to sell. Okay. How many homes do I need to sell for the month? How many listings do I need to take for the month? Okay. So Carlos, your goal for next year is how many deals?
24.
Did we lose you yet, Carlos? Carlos?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you. Okay. So how many deals do you want to do next year?
So are you talking about like 2021 or once my first year is completed?
No, 2021.
So yeah, I'd want to get closer to 30.
Okay. So let's just say it's 24 for this example. Okay. So if you're going to sell 24 homes next year, are you going to sell 2 in January and 2 in February?
Probably not. I'd like to, but I know if I only do 1, then I have to make sure I get 3 the next month.
When I'm setting up my goals and I'm growing and I'm adding in new activities and new models and I'm learning the skills, I'm not going to do it proportionately. Okay. So if I'm selling 60 next year, it's not 15, 15, 15. It may only be 10 in the first quarter, 15 in the second quarter, 20 in the third quarter, and 15 in the fourth quarter. Because the busier times are in the summer months. Now this year, the second quarter was terrible, but the third quarter was unbelievable. I did 61% of my business in the first 9 months, all in the third quarter.
Wow.
Okay. And I think I've already done as much in the fourth quarter as I did in the third quarter. So I had some really high stuff going and so forth. So it is going to build. So as you're new and you've got this big goal, you haven't been doing 2 deals. You got to get to 1 deal first and then 1.5 deals a month. And then you get to 2. But once you get into momentum, you could do 2 or 3 as you're doing the lead generating and you're building that pipeline. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't set up your goals that you're doing it evenly, because then when you don't do 6 in the first quarter and you're at 3, you're already discouraged and it demoralizes you. Okay. Don't put that I'm going to do 1 in the first quarter, because then you're going to have to do 12 in the third quarter. That's not realistic either, but allow yourself to build some momentum as you're getting traction and you're improving your skills. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Okay, so that will give you a lot more success. And so now as you're looking at that list and we figure out how many deals we're going to do in January and how many appointments we want to go on, etc., we're going to write that down. And then, and how many calls am I going to do? Now, I may have to do a lot more calls in January to get these results because my skills are not as good as they're going to be in July and August, because I'm going to improve a lot over the next 6 months or 7 months. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to probably have a certain amount of time put aside just to write out scripts, memorize scripts, practice scripts to get the words down so I can get better, correct?
Correct.
Okay, now on line 4, in January, what lead generating script do you want to learn first? Okay, so for you, if that's for sell by owner, so by the end of January, you want to have that memorized and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I want to be able to call for sale by owners consistently and be able to do that and learn and get better. Now, I'm still going to do it in February, but by February, I'm going to start to really get better because I'm not going to be nervous anymore. I'm going to know how to say it. But in January, I'm really going to put the hard work in on that script to take me to the next script. Carlos, what would be the script you want to learn?
I think for sell by owners, because right now I'm learning expired.
Okay, but now if in January I learn for sell by owners and I start to get good and I start to work on some of their objections and stuff, is that going to help my confidence?
Well, if you're learning their objections,
at the end of the month, are you going to be better than you were at the end of the month? Are you going to be better than you were on the beginning of the month?
oh yeah, if you're out there
You
calling
did
them,
it
yeah.
every day and you committed to doing this, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if we're really working hard, we're starting to see some progress. And maybe by the end of the month, I'm just finally comfortable enough I can talk to people. And maybe I need also February, but from the beginning of February to the end of February, now I got it and I know how to handle objections. I no longer get nervous. I'm excited and it's fun now doing this. Okay, so maybe it takes us 2 months. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Don't wait for me. I'll put that.
Okay. Does that make sense, Carlos?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. However, after you did that and you really got good and confident on the for sale by owners, would you be better at calling your sphere at that point? Yes, because you're now confident that you can talk to people and talking to your sphere about real estate, and you have the questions because look, for sale by owner, you're finding out where they're going, what's important, what have they done. those conversations and those questions, you can still ask your sphere as you're talking, as you're telling them stories of what you've done. Hey, we just helped this for sale by owner. You can tell them your successes from the for sale by owners, correct?
Correct.
It's gonna build because we took the time to learn one and get good at that and then go to the second. If you spend 2 days learning for sale by owners, 2 days learning expires, 2 days learning this, you're not good at anything.
Okay.
So get good. So but in January, February, we're gonna get good at this. Now when we go to, if we said in March, I was gonna do expireds, you can learn that much quicker because you already know how to learn and you have a lot more confidence, okay? And if I'm gonna learn how to talk to my database, that's gonna become even easier. Each one you're gonna learn easier, it's become faster and faster as you learn it. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, and so now for the whole year, I can now learn all these scripts as I'm going. I don't have to learn them in January. Now, when do you want to start to really put some time into learning your listing presentation?
Once you start getting good at calling
Well,
expired.
maybe in February, we start to add in the list. I mean, we're working on that. I'm getting better at the FSBOs, but as I'm working on perfecting the FSBOs, I'm starting to really learn the listing presentation because I'm starting to go on some appointments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's the listing presentation. I'm spending a little bit more time in my script learning as I'm going. Okay. And then maybe by March, I'm starting to perfect and tweak my listing presentation as I'm starting to add in some objection handling. But you don't have to have mastering all of them at the exact same time.
Okay, got it.
If you break it down slowly, now, by the time we get to the end of May, you'll be halfway decent at your listing presentation. You'll be halfway decent at calling people. You'll be knowing how to handle objections. You'll be so much better by May than you were in January. Would you agree?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, but we have to have a certain amount of time, a half an hour in our schedule every day. If we work on this every day and keep perfecting it, we can get very good in 3, 4, 5 months. If we do it once a week, then we are never going to get better. But this is an important part of what you need to do to be successful. And we have to make sure it's in our 401 because this is a big rock. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Now, going back to number 5. I think in there, just learning the inventory and starting to look at houses is the most important thing. Okay. Now, maybe after I've done that a little bit, learning where the schools are, I can do that pretty quickly. Once I've got an idea of the neighborhood and I understand that, learning where the elementary school is, where the middle school is, and the high school is will become important. Now, I know where they are. I may not know about their scores and everything else quite yet, but at least I know where they are. Okay? I also start to learn where the parks are, so I can add a few of these things in as I'm growing my knowledge of what I'm doing. So maybe if I'm looking at properties, I run by and find out where the one school is, and I find where the second school is. Each week, I can keep adding to my knowledge. Okay?
Okay, got it.
Now, we come down to our weekly thing. What do we want to do? Okay, this week, I have to talk to 100 people. I got to look at 50 homes, whether I'm previewing them or looking online, or I got to look at 100 homes. Okay?
Okay.
Now, I need to go on at least one appointment So I got to get either a buyer appointment or a seller appointment. I don't care if it's a good appointment. So I'm just going to get in front of a FSBO. If that's what I'm calling it, I just got to get in. Or maybe I got to get into 2 FSBOs, or I want to get into a FSBO, 3 FSBOs this week. I don't care if I get in there and I vomit all over them. I just have to have the experience of getting in front of them and talking. Capiche? Does that make sense?
Capiche.
Okay, any questions on that?
No, we're good.
Okay, so did I overwhelm you or did I make it a little more easier for you?
No, you made it a lot easier, actually.
Okay, there's a lot we have to learn, but we don't have to learn it all in January. Okay, so I'm going to repeat for a second. Okay, so what I said was, if in January I learned the FSBO, in February I'm perfecting it, but in February I start to learn my listing presentation. So my listing presentation now, because the main script I'm working on, because now I'm going on appointments, but I'm still working on my FSBOs. And then in March, I'm starting to perfect and tweak my listing presentation, but I'm starting to add in some objection handling. Okay. So by the end of May, I'm going to be a lot better in many areas. And because I learned FSBOs and I'm comfortable with that, I'm going to be more comfortable talking to my database because I know how to ask questions and I've had some experience. So you don't have to learn everything, but if you took 2 days and learned FSBOs and then 2 days to learn expires and 2 days to learn this, you've learned nothing and gotten good at nothing. And you never got any confidence. So even though you have so much to learn in your first year, if we start building quicker and start perfecting certain skills, it's going to help you a lot. That's what I'm trying to say. Then we said we are now going to start becoming a master of our area expert. So we're going to start just looking at properties and getting to understand that. And maybe we don't even learn tracks yet, but we're just learning value. As we're starting to do this, oh man, I've been in this track. This is a so-and-so track. I start to learn more of that by February and start realizing that. But I said, as you're going out, maybe you just find out where this, hey, I'm already out looking. Where's the elementary school? At this point, you may not know all the test scores. Maybe you don't find that out, but at least you can say, hey, here's the school. Oh, here's a park. Okay. All of a sudden, hey, here's where the shopping is. So if I'm in Agoura, most of the shopping is on Canaan and TO. You have the 2 main shopping centers. Okay, if you go closer to the freeway by Hill, just below Hillrise on the freeway, there's a little shopping center there that has the Pizza Hut. It has the liquor store. If I go down to Lindero and TO, I have the 7-Eleven. I have a little center across the way. I don't even know what's in there because it's so small. Okay, so you start to know certain things. Right. If I have to go to a gas station, oh, I got to go over the freeway. I have to either go to Chesborough and the freeway, or I got to go on the other side of the freeway on Keenan to find gas stations. Or I can go to Reyes Adobe at Canwood. There's the car wash gas station. Okay, or at Lindero, there's the car wash gas station over there in TO. Those are the things that we need to start to know because people expect that from us. Make sense? Okay, so we're learning it little by little, but we're expanding. Don't try and learn everything because if you don't get to internalize it and build the skills, you're in trouble. So that is really what this one thing is. And so when we get down to the week, I said, we're going to look at how many, we're going to make 100 contacts this week, okay? We're going to look at 100 homes. I don't care whether we go in person or on the computer, but every day we're going to look at 20 to start expanding our knowledge. I said, if we're calling on FSBOs, maybe we want this week, I want to go see 3 FSBOs, okay? And I said, I don't care if you go in there and you vomit all over them. The fact that you went to their house, had a conversation, got you over your fear. You do enough of it, you're going to say, oh, no big deal. You do enough bad ones, you're going to say, hey, let me say this, because you don't want to look bad, so we're going to find a way to look better and know what to say. Maybe when I go out to do a FSBO, I'm going to do a CMA first, so I know what the real values are around here, so I can talk to them. hey, Carlos, I know you guys want 900,000 for your house, but the last two homes that sold, each sold for 875, and those had a nicer kitchen, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Carlos, I know you're asking 800. In fact, if we put it on the market and get you the exposure you need, we can actually get you 850 to 875, so we can put more money in your pocket and still pay us. Okay, you're gonna start to learn by knowing the CMA where it is.
Right.
Okay, so all of a sudden you're gonna add skills into there. All of a sudden, maybe I wanna learn the purchase agreement so that if I have to write an offer for someone, that's the first one. I'm gonna learn that in January. I'm gonna go to Gay's class and do that. Maybe in February, I'm gonna learn the listing presentation. Then I'm gonna realize all the other forms. So you just wanna build on it step by step. So, Carlos, for you, out of all of this, what are two things you learned from this class?
Well, I was trying to learn everything at once, but I think I'm gonna slow it down.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
One,
okay.
and then the second one was how much I actually need to make to net, 100,000 and 200,000.
Okay, so this weekend, I want both of you to really figure out what is that number you really need and what do the numbers really look like to get there, okay?
Okay.
Because if I put 300,000 is what I want to make, because it sounds good, that's 2 deals a month and I can make 300,000, and I don't need to make that much and I don't really have the desire and I don't know what to do with the money, I'm going to quit when things get tough. I'm not going to go call 3 more FSBOs and follow up with them because I've already made enough money. So in my plan, when I go through and it talks about what I need to make, and let's say I want to make $500,000 for myself this year, okay?
Yeah.
I have in there, and now that I refinanced my house, my expenses for my house now are probably $5,000 a month, okay? Actually, maybe let's say $6,000 because my mortgage is now down to $3,600. My taxes cost me $1,100 a month, and then utilities, etc. So let's say it's $6,000 a month. So there's $72,000. Okay, and let's say for my personal life and the family, I don't have college, I don't have that so much. We're not doing a lot of traveling right this second. So let's say that costs me $8,000 a month, which is a lot of money. So now I have 8. So there's 96 plus the 72. So we're going to say that's about 170,000. And Carlos, how much did I say I wanted to make?
You said you wanted to make 300.
No, I said more.
500.
What did I say?
500.
500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so for my personal life, how much, if I spend 170, how much do I have left?
You'd have 330,000 left.
Okay. Is that going to be easy for me to go find 330,000, to go make an additional 330,000 if I don't really have something to do with the money? Not really. Okay, if I paid my mortgage and I paid my expenses to go do this other stuff, I can live still very comfortably. So now I have in there, or last year before COVID, I had in there, I had $20,000 to take the family to Hawaii for 2 weeks. And then I had 25 or 30,000 in there because my wife and I were going 4th of July for 2 weeks in South Africa and going on safari. Okay, so I started to put the money away. I had a goal to buy my wife a new car, wanted to pay cash, so that was $50,000. Okay, she got her car, I had to cancel I paid for the safari, but I had to cancel it because we weren't going to South Africa in July. I ended up having to cancel Hawaii. So we got to start to account for the money, what we're going to do for it. So then I had pay off all the debt. I did that. Now, I lied to you because when I said 500,000, that wasn't, my number is 500,000, but 20,000 of that a month. So no, 15,000 a month is for my business. So it was 180,000 that is part of it. Okay. So when I had, it was 500,000. Actually, is that right? I gotta think about that for a second. See, the problem I have is I have money from my real estate, and then I have other investments now that bring in a lot of money. So what pays for what is part of the problem. And this is where I need more clarity myself in doing it, because as I built it up, otherwise I don't achieve the goals, because I can have a really great life running my business. And so it's one of the reasons I've never broken $1 million in real estate. I've done 700,000 to 900,000 the last 5 years. Now, why is it that I'm at 700,000 to 900,000?
Because you don't really need to get to 1 million, it seems like.
I don't, and I'm complacent. I have a great life, and I like being with the kids. I like now I have a new grandson. So doing those things. So is it as important? So yes, it is important to do it, to say I did it, but I don't need it for the lifestyle I have. I have a great lifestyle. Now, could it be even better? So maybe I need to go back and think bigger, because I'm not thinking big enough.
And you're working more and then you don't get the grant.
No, but I can work smarter.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay. But I share this with you because this is the problem we have. We get to a certain level and then we get complacent. And unless so my coach makes me allocate all that money. Okay. So one of the things was putting a certain amount of money in the bank. So I had it for my daughter's wedding and stuff like that. I got 2 more daughters. I got 2 more weddings to do. Great. So that's part of what I'm doing. So that's important. Paying off the kids' debt. That's a big thing. Okay, now we're putting a certain amount of money into retirement accounts. Okay, that's the big thing. So as I can account for the money, it allows me and motivates me to keep going at a higher level. But just to get by and pay for my house and my lifestyle and a few vacations, I don't need to do what I'm doing right now to achieve that goal. That's all I want to bring out. As you're doing it, think of the other things, the big life you want to have, and account for part of that, add that in as you're spending all the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay.
I'm with Carlos. Thank you for that and breaking it down weekly and monthly, because I just feel like I'm in classes all the time and I'm trying to find the balance of pick the right class to go to, and then I'm trying to learn it all and I can't. So to write it down the weekly and the monthly and just focus on those certain things helps me immensely.
Right, as long as, like I told you in the business plan, when we had to do our listing presentation, that was literally on our monthly goal.
Right.
For 3 months. Now, we made major progress. I mean, I took it all because I had my listing presentation was several pieces we made together. There was no continuity. So I hired Michael Lewis Marketing. I said, here's our pieces. Here's what we want. Now make them all look the same. So they redid all of our pieces and recreated it. Okay. And they came back. And I said, oh, I didn't like this picture, move this, do that. So we did it. We were able to use it in the second month. Then as I was going out, I found, oh God, I kept screwing this portion up. I didn't like this. Or it sounded great, but it doesn't work in practice. So we modified it. So by the third month, a lot of the changes in the third month were just from using it and perfecting it. I go, oh man, now that this is so good, I wish I had this page to go. So we created an extra 2 pages for the things I needed. And now I do my presentation. I go, any questions? I go, oh my God, that was so thorough. Okay. Now, when I did my buyer presentation, I did the buyer presentation the first time, we were on for 1 hour and 45 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, it was way too long. Cut this out, cut this out, cut this out. So we have 2. We have one we can leave you with the verbiage and one that only has a few points. And now we have it, we can do a buyer presentation in 40 minutes to 1 hour, depending on, like we just did it for this kid. Wants to get his first house. He's 26. His grandmother referred him to me. He knew nothing. He didn't understand how we got paid. So that took an hour and 10 minutes to get through it.
Right,
But I was really explaining to him how we protect him, how the contract works.
right.
And I said, I'm sorry this took longer than I would have liked. I would have liked to have done it under an hour. He goes, oh my God, Mark, because of analytical kid and he wanted to know. So he was very involved and I kept answering his questions. So it took a little bit longer. Okay. But we even said after that one, we took another page out. We said, you know what? I'm telling him this. He doesn't need, I don't need that page either. Just, I was adding fluff.
Right.
So we took that out and now that would save us about 10 minutes and get it back onto an hour. So that's how I perfected it. It took me 3 months, but I don't have to do it again. That's the only thing I wanted to share with you. Okay. Thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I was a terrible student. I had a child keep calling me
No worries.
in a crisis. I'm like, ah.
Drive safely, Carlos.
I started on the Michael Lewis marketing I want to send a flyer out to where I live because there's really no realtor. The realtor there used to.
Where do you live?
I live in the Country Club Estates in Moore Park
Oh,
up by
yeah,
the
yeah.
golf course.
Yep.
And Mary Layden used to kind of have a lockdown on the neighborhood. She moved away like a year ago.
Where'd you go?
I think out of state. Yeah.
Really?
So there's no realtor that has a set in my neighborhood. So I'm like, oh my God, I gotta get my name out there. So I was on Michael Lewis Marketing designing a postcard and I'm like, so I called Patrick. So I'm meeting Patrick right now.
So now, if you did that, then every week, you pick one postcard and you just did that, all of a sudden at the end of the quarter, you would have 6 or 7 nice pieces all done
Right,
that you could use, and you don't have to recreate them, you just keep using them as templates.
right,
That's what we're trying to do,
right.
because otherwise we're schizophrenic and we get nothing done. We gotta do our lead generating, get that done,
Right.
and then we work on the business a little bit, and that's what we're trying to accomplish.
So tonight, I'm lucky on the finance part. 'Cause my husband, he works down the street. He's a financial advisor.
Right.
So I like just give him all the numbers and he sets it up. So.
No, and that's